A book review video. What is all that? Oh my goodness. So is it obvious that I read an African themed book? Can you tell by my attire and my set today? Any hoodles. Thank you so much for tuning in, you guys. I am a Chrissy. And by the way, that was Eddy Kenzo. He is really awesome. I am obsessed with that song since it came out back in 2014. And I will link that video below if you want to, listen to it. It's a really fun song. And also he introduced us to the ghetto kids, the like dancing kids that are really famous. So anyway, let's jump into my book review, right? That's why you're here. So I read A Girl is a Body of Water by Jennifer Nansubuga Makumbi. Yeah, so when I saw this beautiful book cover, I knew that I had to read it just because, number one, it's been a hot minute since I read a book based in Africa or by an African author. And also the cover is just beautiful and it just sounds really great when I read the synopsis, which I'll tell you in a second. I just want to send a big thanks to Tin House Books for sending me an advanced review copy of this book. I read a digital copy, obviously, which is why I'm not holding a real book. So thank you so much. And this book is on sale now, you guys, so you can get it. So this book was on every must-read list for the fall of 2020. I just had to get into it and just read what it's all about. Let's jump right into the synopsis for A Girl is a Body of Water. The setting is Uganda, Africa. I mean, obviously. We follow a young girl named Karabo as she comes of age in 1970s Uganda as her country is transformed by the bloody dictatorship of Idi Amin. Karabo is being raised and surrounded by strong women in the small village of Nateta. She's brought up by her grandmother, Alikisa, and her aunts and her best friends. But all the while, the absence of her mother follows her around like a shadow. No one in her family is willing to tell her anything about her mother or if she's even alive or if she's dead. Karabo begins to experience strange sensations, of which her body feels as though it's split into two. One part being very headstrong, bold, and strong, and then the other part of her is very timid and sweet and obedient. Karabo begins to visit the local witch named Nsuta. They spend afternoon trading stories about the woman who brought her to life, and discovers that her mother is indeed alive. Nsuta explains to Karabo that inside of her, she has the streaks of the first woman there ever was, an independent, strong state that has now been lost by all women. As the years pass, Karabo finds herself enrolled in an elite school, and we follow her as she comes of age and learns more about herself, and grapples with her identity, her family origins, and her family's expectations, as well as trying to figure out what it means to be a modern girl in a world that seems determined to silence women. This book deals with Karabo's desire to reconnect with her mother and the modern notions of feminism against a backdrop of traditional Ugandan folklore. So that is the premise or synopsis, actually, I should say, of the book. Stay tuned, you guys. When I come back, I'm going to give you my review and I'm going to give you my rating for this African read. Welcome back, you guys. Thank you so much for staying tuned. And if you're enjoying this video, give it a little like, help a sister out. Thank you so much. Just had to have a little dance party because, that song is so hot. Let's jump right into my review for A Girl is a Body of Water. This book is just heaping with rich traditional Ugandan culture, and there is an entire village in this book, you guys, and I was like 100% here for it. And it's an epic saga, and I literally relished it in one week. This book was actually quite a slow burner in a sense that it really took its time to truly develop. Makumbi was in no rush to tell us the story of this book, and I was really digging it actually. It felt like you were watching a soap opera or something, and it was actually really pleasant to read. Like it takes its time to get going, but like you actually are invested in the characters and everything that's happening in the book. So let's talk about all my favorite things that I loved about this book. So first of all, I just loved all the characters in this book. I mean, like I said, it's an entire village. There are a lot of characters in this book. I especially loved Kirabo. I thought she was so awesome. You fully get to understand who she is and where she's coming from as you grow up with her. You know, you follow her from, 12 years old up until her late teens and young adult life. So it is a coming of age story, and I just really adored her character. Also loved all of Kirabo's family. Suta was amazing. I think she's like a character that can just have her own book. She's really awesome. She's surrounded by all these strong women, and if you are familiar with the African culture, I'm sure a lot of cultures actually are quite like this. You have a lot of strong, very bossy, ballsy women, and that is exactly the type of characters that are in this book. So I really liked that. It was just a really fun and funny book to read as well. The characters just gave so much life to this book, and it was just incredible. I will also say I quite like that Kirabo was a tomboy in a way, especially with African culture. You tend to get a lot of pressure from your family, which is what was happening in the book, to be a little bit more feminine, and she just wasn't really fitting into that mold of what you're supposed to be. So it was quite a feminist book, and I just really liked that Makumbi played with that in Kirabo's character. Another thing that I really loved about this book is that there was so much more happening in this book than what I thought there would be. And this book is just filled with layers and layers and layers and depth within the story. Makumbi covers a plethora of issues and subjects in this book, especially to do with African traditional culture or Ugandan traditional culture. So it is a really great learning experience if you do read this book. And she brings up issues such as gender roles, high expectations that women place on each other, to be the rock of the family, to be a homemaker while the man can just go out and do whatever he wants to do and sleep with whoever wants to sleep with. And also how female friendships can be torn because of boys. I mean, there are so many universal issues here that we can all relate to, even though it was talking about the Ugandan African culture. A lot of these issues are really taken into context in other countries as well. So I really did like that about the book. One of my absolute favorite things that I really liked about this book was that there were a lot of feminist themes in this book. And I really, really loved that. A lot of headstrong, opinionated characters in this book were really awesome. Just as there would be in many African countries, as well as non-African countries. There are a lot of like strong women in there, so I really did like that about this book. And this book really made me laugh. It was funny. Like, it was actually quite a funny book. Makumbi definitely captured the essence of African women and, the little mannerisms and things like that. I loved everything about this book. I loved all the themes that were brought up in this book. She brought up issues such as privilege, sexism, marriage, relationships, close community life, religion, politics. I mean, there was a lot going on. It was just a very well-rounded read. My only negative comment is that it took its sweet time to get going. So in the beginning, I did feel like it sort of dragged a bit, or, there were parts that I just wasn't really that interested in. But once Kirabo reached her teenage years, it was just awesome. Like, I loved it. I was like pulled right in again, and right up until the end of the book. I mean, all in all, it was just a great read and I enjoyed it. And then obviously I felt really upset with some of the things that happen in the book, because obviously it's 1970 and it's in Uganda, Africa. The country's being run by a dictator. Men basically have so much power. They own land. Women don't really have much say in anything. They basically get the short end of the stick. So things like that obviously made me upset, but it is history and that's just how it is. With all that said, she does make her characters just absolutely shine, and all the female characters are very strong. It is a feminist book. It's a great book for young girls to read, and also boys, whoever wants to read this book. It's just a great feminist book. So with all that, let's jump into my rating for A Girl is a Body of Water. So I gave this book a rating of 9 out of 10. Yes, I loved this book. It was excellent. It was close to perfection. It was a very enjoyable read, and I would highly recommend it. I loved it. Great. And if I could describe this book with 4 words, they would be vivid, because when you read the book, Makumbi is very descriptive in her writing. She's a really great storyteller. So I could literally picture the villages. I could picture the rain. I could picture everything. It was very it's almost like you can smell everything. It was excellent. My second word would be resonant. It really feels like everything in this book will just last in my brain for a very long time. It was a very emotional read. I loved it. And then the third word will be endearing, mostly because of all the characters in this book, and everyone was just wonderful. They just brought such heart and warmth and charm to this book. Just very endearing. And then the last word will be multi-layered, because when you read this book, so much more happens than what you think the book is about. There are so many layers you get taken on this incredible journey. It would make a great drama show, by the way. So yeah, definitely multi-layered, and I enjoyed it. Makumbi is definitely a gifted storyteller. A Girl is a Body of Water is a feminist coming-of-age historical fiction read for all ages, races, and faces. This book is full of rich Ugandan folklore and universal themes that we can all relate to as well. I loved all the characters, the sense of community, as well as the powerful female roles that played a very important part in this book. It was a very, very rewarding and truly memorable book, and I would definitely recommend it. So with that said, let's jump into my song pick for this book. So obviously you can tell I love music, and I've been playing you some low tunes by Eddy Kenzo, but for this book I wanted to pick a song by a woman, because this book is all about women. It's all about strong women. It's a feminist read, and I definitely had to pick Ugandan artists, because that would be crazy not to. So I could not decide. I had 2 songs. I had one that should be the logical pick for this book, because it's literally what the book is about. So my first pick would be my obvious pick for this song, and it's called Woman, and it's by Juliana Kanyomozi. So this song is just a very strong song about women. Watch the music video, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But also, I actually wanted to pick a song really that just shows the essence of African culture and the good vibes, and also because Kirabo is a young girl, and I wanted to pick someone who's a bit young and hip. There are a lot of fun scenes in this book. My second song pick for this book, which I will be playing, and you should definitely check out the video because it's really fun, is a song called Omusheshe by Spice Diana and Ray G, both from Uganda. And also, they're actually from 2 different clans. This is the thing with African culture. In African cultures, they have these things called clans, and it's just, if you're from that clan, you can't marry someone from that clan because you're stealing the family or whatever. It's all very traditional stuff that I think still goes on. Comment below if it does, I have no idea. But yeah, these 2 artists are from 2 different clans, and I just really like that, and I also love the song. It's a really cute song, and it's just a really groovy song we can all dance to. In fact, I might just dance my way out of this. Hey, I'll link these songs below, by the way. Check out my written review too if you would like to read it. Thank you so much, you guys, for tuning in to Chrissy's books this week, and let's dance away.